Hi, everybody. It's me, Leo Brown, and welcome to a day late edition of Let's Talk About It. So, first of all, before I get into it, I want to say thank you to all of my commenters, my sharers, my subscribers, to all of you that make my channel what it is, for allowing me to go through so many incarnations and talk about different subjects that pertain that I feel are relevant to me, to the world, and hopefully to all of you. So, thank you so much. If you like what you hear, and even what you see too, even though I know right now you can't see my face, but if you like what you hear, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, let me know what you think, because the idea of this channel and the idea of this particular video series is to have a dialogue. Hence why I call it Let's Talk About It. So yesterday, I made a post about aging because I was going to do it yesterday, but unfortunately, I got a little tied up with things and I got a little busy. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the video in time, but I wanted to make it today because I feel that this is a topic that's very important, especially with actually what's going on right now too. So, and I'm not going to talk about Miss Rona because she's getting plenty of attention and free promotion. So we're not going to discuss her, but we will discuss, aging, getting older in this climate, in this culture, and in this world. So here's my thing. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with aging. On one hand, I love it. I love, like, the things I love about it are I'm getting to know myself. I can honestly express myself better. I'm learning what it really means to be vulnerable and be open. Though I will admit that's not easy for me. I'm learning to express my fears, as well as what I want and what I don't want in my life. And definitely quality over quantity is becoming an issue, a standard for me. Uh, Now, what I don't like about aging, and I wouldn't say I hate it, but what I don't find enjoyable is the physical changes and things like flexibility, things like, watching how you eat, what else? Even the mental ones, because, like I'll walk into the kitchen and forget why I came in there, or I'll walk into my bathroom and be like, what the hell did I walk in my bathroom for? Or I'll get up to go to walk somewhere and I notice I'll catch myself in the mirror and I walk like an old man. Bent over posture and everything. So those are the things that I dislike. And also, I will admit, there are moments where I don't feel ignored. And I'm pretty sure some of you can relate to this too. I feel as if I want to remain current, but I don't want to be the old man in the club, if that makes any sense. Like, I want to be relevant. I want to be able to, talk with people about certain things that are important to today's culture and world. But at the same time, like, I don't know who that is. Like when it comes to music, for instance, if it wasn't for my barber, shout out to Jasmine Percy. If it wasn't for my barber, I would not know really who a lot of the singers of today are, because I am very much a 80s, 90s, 70s, some 60s, and even like I'm very old school when it comes to music. So, and I also like a lot of international music too. Shout out to Coasty Antona, I think is his name. He produces a lot of I think he's Romanian, and he produces a lot of Bulgarian pop music. If you know who I'm talking about, if you know who, like, artists like Aziz Galina, who's another one, Maria, people like that. If you know those artists, then you know who I'm talking about. So I like a lot of international music too, and music in different languages. I just do. I love learning different languages because I feel like it keeps your mind sharp. But anywho, but if it wasn't for my barber, I wouldn't know who, you know, what's her name? Ari Lennox and Summer Walker and her and Janae, I want to say it's Aiko. Janae Aiko. I wouldn't, like, I just got introduced to their music and I'm like, who is this? This is good. Da 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 da. So I'm realizing, like, on one hand, I relish getting older because I'm learning to live life on my own terms. But on another, it kind of feels like you're not stuck, but it's almost like you're in, at least for me, it's almost like you're in the middle of, how do I put it? Like you're in the middle of a marathon, like you're running the marathon with everybody else, but everybody else is a little bit further. And maybe that's because we live in a youth oriented world. Maybe that's because we live in a youth oriented society. But there are moments where I have felt like that. I have felt like, well, I'm getting older, and I necessarily don't want to turn up anymore. Like I'm at a point where I enjoy coffee and conversation, or cocktails and conversation. I enjoy, Chardonnay. I enjoy, music as background noise. Like the one thing I've noticed is I don't like loud. I do not like loud. I used to, when I was in my 20s, child, you couldn't, honey, listen. I used to love going to clubs and shaking my thing. Now, mind you, it would take me a minute to get back up because of my disability and such, but I used to live for it, like dancing and, movement, and I still do. But I know, like, okay, case in point, like here in Houston, right? Majority of the clubs and bars are just that. They're clubs. They're not places where you can go and relax, unwind. Um, they're loud. They're crowded. I'm not into loud and crowded anymore. I like intimate. I like small. Or medium. I like, the music is background noise. I like when you can go somewhere and you can tell that person or persons, they put effort into the way they dress. There's a little bit of food, you know what I mean? There's good music playing, a very laid back, tranquil environment is what I enjoy. And and trust me, I've tried to go out and everybody's turn up and smoking hookah, and I'm like, no, I'm in my house literally like within an hour. So yeah. And I don't think that's a useful thing. I think that's, or an old thing. I think that's just part of. I think it's just part of maturing. I like to think it is. And I don't want to be one of those. Get off my line, you old, you young kids. But there are moments where I do feel like that. And then it's like I said, as far as the physical changes go, having to work out more often, having to watch how I eat, having to make sure I drink more water, but not too much. You know what I mean? Like, don't drink too much before you go to bed. Don't eat too much fiber, because you never know. You might have a shark instead of a fart. I'm just being real. Um, taking your supplements, because let me tell you something. I have, as all of you know, I have cerebral palsy. I was born with it. Okay. It affects my legs, my right arm, and the right side of my body. And so for me, as I'm getting older, what I've noticed is I'm becoming stiffer. So I have to really focus on exercises that encourage flexibility, and I have to focus on taking supplements like glucosamine. Can't pronounce it today. And so, excuse me, and I realize that if I don't take it, listen, I am not light as a feather. I'm stiff as a goddamn board, and I can't move to save my life. Even me going, and you didn't hear this, but even me going back and forth to my kitchen sometimes wears me out. I'm like, oh my God. So just certain things I'm noticing about getting older that I'm like, okay. But like I've said, the love outweighs the hate. And I use the hate loosely because I don't hate getting older. It's just more, there's certain things about it that I have to get adjusted to. And I think this is true with all people, because I'll be honest, I don't want to be 18, I don't want to be 25, and I don't want to be 21. Because I remember those days and how stupid I was, and just how I thought I knew everything, and how I couldn't wait to be grown, quote unquote. And now that I am grown, you know what I mean? Now I'm like, well, shit, I want a nap, So, because I can remember growing up, and being the fact that I experienced a lot of trauma, it caused me to mature really quickly. So I thought I was older than my years. And in some ways I was, but I look back on it now and I'm like, in a lot of ways you were stupid. But I can remember my last major surgery that I had. And the doctors told me, they said, well, you're not going to live to see 30. And I was no more than maybe 11 and a half going on 12. And I didn't know, and I thought 30 was, I'm just going to be real, I thought 30 was just ancient. I was like, what you mean? And so, they said, well, at most you'll live to see 35. And I'm like, well, that's forever away. And so, long story short, I would say from the time I was 23 up until the day I turned 30, I counted. I was like, okay, so I'm not going to live to see 30. And in my mind, I had this plan. I was like, okay, so by 25, I want to be a homeowner. By 30, I want to be married. By 40, or 35, I want children. By 40, I want to retire. By 50, I want to be, well known, that kind of thing, famous and stuff. And so now that I am 38, and I'm getting older, I'm like, none of that happened. And I think that was because I honestly just counted. And I never did anything to accomplish those goals because I thought, but I'm not going to be here to see it anyway. So what does it matter? And so now that I'm getting older and I'm entering into my 40s, I'm really asking myself some really deep questions, because the one thing that I would say that getting older is making me see is that we all have an expiration date, and it's the dashes in between that really matter. It is what you do and it's who you do it with. You know what I mean? But it's not always the way you do it. So I'm realizing that because even, as I get older, my mother is older now. My mother's in her 60s. And in my head, up until this point, my mother was always 35. My mother was always 20. She was between 25 and 30 in my head. Body for days, makeup beat, you know, mind on her money and her money on her goddamn mind. That was mama. So I never imagined my mother as old. I always saw my mother as vital. But now I'm starting to see my mother's older. My mother's aging. My mother's getting, she's a senior now. She's not, she's okay. I'm not saying that being in 60 is old. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is she's not the woman that I have in my head, or had in my head. And I'm not gonna lie that recently, when she told me recently that she was sick, and luckily she's okay now. But when I found out that she was sick, it hit me because I was like, wait a minute. I may have to step in and not take care of her, but oversee things. I may have to become not a parent per se, but like a guardian, you know what I mean, or a protector. And I'm not gonna lie, that's a lot for me because I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna live forever, and that may sound really silly for me to say, but it's true, and even with my friends and people that I know, and I often think about that. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna live forever. We're never gonna grow old. And of course, being the fact that we live in such a youth-oriented culture and world and society, everybody wants to look young, even though I have to say there are some great people who are definitely anti-aging, or I shouldn't say anti-aging, aging icons for me, like Suzanne Summers, Jane Fonda, Blair Underwood. Blair Underwood looks fantastic. I don't know what he's doing, but he looks great. Who's another one that looks really great? Raquel Welch, Cher, people like that. But then you have to factor in they have trainers and nutritionists and people that know them, on a deeper level. And not saying that we can't do that. We can. It just takes more work, for the average Joe. So, I kind of understand the whole boomer versus millennial thing because I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you guys can comment on this below. So I was born in 81 and I graduated high school in 2000. So I'm trying to think, does that make me a boomer or not a boomer? I'm sorry. My mom's a boomer. Does that make me a millennial or does that make me a Generation X or a Gen Xer? Because I'm not 100% sure. But anywho, I can kind of understand it because you know we millennials, and I guess I'll call myself a millennial. We kind of view people, not view all boomers, of course, but with certain boomers, we view them as being old fashioned, like their ways. And I look at it from two different sides. On one hand, yes, some things are outdated and have to change. Okay, that's just life. But on the other, there's a lot that we can learn from the older generation. And the one thing that I try to do now is I try to listen to the elders because I realize I'm becoming one. People are coming to me that are younger than me now. I realize that with certain people who are younger than myself, I can talk to them, but it's a different kind of conversation. Or even people who are my age, who who are mentally and maybe emotionally kind of stuck in that 17, 18, 13, 12 year old mindset. It's a different kind of conversation. It's a different kind of energy than say somebody who, is mature or seasoned. And there's nothing wrong with being youthful, first of all. Let me make that clear because I don't want people to think that I'm saying, oh, well, you should. No, be youthful. I'm not saying you need to go get a rocking chair. But what I'm saying is you have to kind of have a balance between the two. And the one thing I'm learning is I have to know my limits. I can't be out here like 25-year-olds turning up every weekend. That ain't, my body will wear out. Okay? Child, listen, you should see me trying to read. I like, oh my God. I'm trying to read a menu at a restaurant and I'm like, what? That says hamburger facado. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, or I've noticed my hearing. My hearing is not gone, but it's changed. And that's what I'm trying to say. The one thing that we have to do as both millennials and boomers is we have to embrace change. And we have to realize, listen, us millennials, we are not Meg the Stallion, honey. Listen, her knees are made of titanium or uranium or vibranium or some shit. I don't have knees like that. Okay. My knees pop, lock, and drop. Even when I don't want them to. You should keep me getting out of bed. Okay. But do I regret getting older? No, because I'm learning a lot about me and I'm figuring out who I am. And I think as long as I keep myself healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, as best I can, then I'm good, But at the same time, I do want to remain. I don't want to get too set in my ways. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. And I would say for the generation before me, you know, I think they could learn a lot from us and we could learn a lot from them. And I would also say that just because you are older, it does not give you an excuse to be a dick or to put down other people because you have to also understand we were once 22, 21, 18, 17, 15. Like case in point, like the spring breakers that went to Miami, okay, that were interviewed recently. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those. I was like, you fools, you dumbass fools. But then I also had to remember it's like, okay, you were once their age. I don't know if I would have done what they did. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, go look it up. It's about Miss Rona, but like I said, I'm not giving her too much full free promotion today. But you know, I don't think I would have done that. But see, I don't know because it's different. It's a different time. It's a different, we're coming into a new decade. We're in a new decade now. So it's a lot. And I would just say for us, older and younger people, there's a lot we can learn from each other. Okay. For my people who are getting older, who are 40 and up, embrace your age, but take care of yourself as best you can in every aspect. For the people who are before me, we honor you, we thank you, but allow us to do that in our own way. And for the new generation, let us listen to you and let you listen to us because we all have something to share of value. For those of you who are just kind of in the middle, get some help. That's all I'm gonna say on that. So With that being said, I want to know, how do you guys feel about getting older? For those of you who are in your 20s, what advice would you give to somebody who was younger? Who's maybe 18? What would you say? Or 16, 18, what would you say? For those of you in your 30s, what would you say to the person to a person in their 20s? For a person who's in their 30s, same thing what would you say to a person in their 40s? Or I'm sorry, to a person in their 40s, what would you say to a person that's in the 30 range? Someone like myself, and 50 plus, what would you say to the ones that are 40? Because I think we all can learn. So I really want a dialogue. I really want to hear, how, and here's another question I have. How has your life changed as you've gotten older? How have you changed? Have you noticed the physical changes, the mental changes, the emotional changes, the spiritual changes? What are the good things? What are the bad things? What are the other things about it? Because every journey or every incarnation, I think, that we have as spiritual beings on this planet, it's a journey. Every age, because I honestly do believe that we change every year. Now, I know for a fact I do, because I'm definitely not the same person that, say, 28-year-old me and 38-year-old me are two different people. Because when I was 28, I didn't know my hair from a head wrap, but now that I'm 38, I'd like to think I'm getting to know who I am a little bit more. But enough about me. I want to know what you guys think. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sorry I'm not on camera, but we are under self-quarantine and mama needs a shave. And you do not want to see what I look like. I'm telling you. I'm just being honest. You don't want to see it. But anywho, um, if you like what I've said so far, just be sure to leave your comments, rate it, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. And I look forward to sharing more of a dialogue with y'all. So, like I said, let's talk about it. Have a great night. Bye bye.